If you had to double your revenue in the next calendar year, let's say from this year to next year.
It's such a great question because it points out exactly the places where we're complacent and we're just like, I'm content with this level of growth. I'm not gonna really work hard. I'm gonna coast for the rest of the year. And it's like, if you had to hustle, it's really actually not that different. And you know what I'd probably do?
This video is brought to you by Wealthfront, and I'll tell you more about them in just a minute. I think you gotta have a dream.
The School of Greatness.
Really? Yeah.
Please welcome Lewis Howes.
According to the Credit Suisse Wealth Global Report, only 1% or 56 million people are millionaires.
Interesting.
Now I'm curious, that's in the world, right?
Yes.
56 million people in the world are millionaires, or 1%. Is it possible for anyone listening to become a millionaire in your mind? Is it possible for anyone to become a millionaire? And if so, what would they need to have the first three things in mind in order to work towards becoming that?
Yes. So first of all, yes, I do think that it's possible for anyone. And if there really truly is somebody because of their environment or systemic conditions that they're living in that they can't, then that's our responsibility for the rest of us to do it so that we can help lift that person up, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of how I see it. So I think we should just assume that we can.
What if all the excuses in the world, though, of like, my parents won't let me do this, where I grew up, or this or that, I don't have the education, you still think it's possible?
Yes, and you can find examples of millionaires in every circumstance. I myself grew up low income. Like my parents were drug addicts and alcoholics at different points in their lives. Like there was on paper, I was not a potential success story, right? And I could let that stop me, or I could just say, that's just part of my story. It doesn't mean anything. In fact, I think it's actually propelled me. I think sometimes when you are at a disadvantage, you are in a better position. And if you think about people who are systemically and historically marginalized, right? Like there's not as many Black people, for example, who are teaching on a certain subject or who are experts in a certain field, right? You have an opportunity and a perspective to serve a segment of the market that's probably underserved right now if you are a marginalized person, you know? So I think that there is a wealth of opportunity and we have tools now. Like it's a miracle that we have the internet, right? That's how I was able to do it. So right. I think it is within reach and I think we have to believe it. I mean, that's the first thing is you have to believe it's possible. And I think the way that you get to start believing that is possible is surround yourself with other people who also believe, right? Like be in an environment like listening to a podcast like this or reading books or joining communities where you could be surrounded with people who believe. Because there's any number of naysayers in the world who will tell you it's not practical, it's not possible. So you have to surround yourself with people who believe and who are doing it, who are working towards it. I think that's the first thing.
Okay.
I think the second thing is we have to really get clear on the way that we add value. I think we are so like talented and we think that we're not. Forget about what the world says. Forget about what your last boss said about you. Forget about what degrees you do or don't have, right? Like really think about your natural talents. Like every single one of us is born with natural talents and skill sets and a perspective that other people don't have. And the problem is we undervalue it. We think everybody can do what we do. Everybody can't do what I do, right? Like everybody can't rock this hair. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so we have to get in touch with what are our talents. And the way that we do that is look back at like when you were a kid, right? Like what were the things that people came to you for or you were just naturally did? Like I used to get in trouble all the time for talking too much. And now I get paid to talk, you know? So I think that we can look back and see, and it doesn't even have to be like, sometimes people think, oh, you got to be a big personality. No, you don't. Like there are people that I know who make millions just being someone who thinks like an engineer, who knows how to systematize things and create process. And they use that as a way to like invent strategies or processes that make them millions, right? So we all have talents. So we have to tap into that and really think about what is the value that I have to bring. I think personality tests can help with that, just to start to give you an inkling towards, you know, become a student of yourself. Who am I, right? What do I have to bring to the world? What is my perspective? How does my growing up with a parent who struggled with alcoholism at one point in their lives, how's that benefit me and make me relate to more people and make, you know, me more able to become a millionaire rather than less. So I think recognizing our value is also a big piece of it. So we had mindset, we have value. I talked a little bit about environment. And then you know what, like, I think for the last one, I'm gonna just say charge accordingly. Like, just start asking for more money, right? Like, just be audacious with your requests. Like, just ask. So I think, it's one of the simplest things we can do is like, oh, you want to pick my brain? Let me charge for that.
Right.
Or, put an offer out, right? Offer to tutor your neighbors or offer to whatever that skill is that you feel that you have, try to sell it and see what happens. See if anybody wants to buy it.
Absolutely.
And
the more valuable you become and the more people want your talent and your skills, you can start to charge more accordingly. Maybe when you start out, you need to charge in a certain way, but as you grow, you can really start to charge premium levels.
Yes. And honestly, here's the thing. I think we could charge premium on day one.
Yeah.
I just think that we're too afraid to do it. As long as you could back it up. You
gotta get results.
Yes, exactly. If you can get results, then why do you have to, you don't have to charge lower because everybody else does.
Right.
I think we do that because we're scared. So we're like, oh, this very valuable thing that I have to give, I'm going to give it for $100 instead of $1,000 because $100 scares me less. And it's like, okay, fine, put it out for $100 and then see the results that you get for people. They get mad about it and then raise the price.
Exactly.
Which is what I did.
Yeah. You mean you charged less, they got incredible results and you're like, oh, I should have charged 10 times
myself.
more.
Yes.
I think it's okay when you're first starting out the first 6 months of a venture or something. It's like, I've done things for free for friends to see.
Oh, totally.
Can I actually get the results? Let me try. I got it for myself. Can I do it for one person?
Yes.
Oh, I did. Okay, let me charge the next person.
Yes.
Man, they made a lot of money from my help. Let me charge more for the next time and then keep going up.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to do it. What if someone's listening and or watching, they're in their mid to late 20s and they haven't really figured out what they want to do with their career or their business aspect of their life yet?
Yes.
What would you suggest in terms of the fastest path to making millions? The fastest path to being a millionaire based on their skills. How can they assess their skills? What would that industry be? What would that lane be? Is that a career? Is that investing in something? Is that earning as a solo entrepreneur to an entrepreneur? What lane should they take or think of?
Yes.
What are kind of these 3 different lanes you would suggest?
So I don't believe that we should choose our path based on like what industry is hot right now. I think what's going to make you the most money the fastest is the thing that you're willing to consistently do. And that's usually connected to something that we actually care about and are interested enough in.
Right.
So I think sometimes we're like, oh, this is hot or this is a hot idea. We should jump on that. And it's like, you could. And I'm not saying that won't work. But I think the way that I've been most consistent is if I'm doing the kind of work that I enjoy, that I believe in, where I feel like I'm making a difference and where I'm having fun. Yeah. If it's a drag, I'm gonna stop showing up.
It's gonna be tiring after a year, 2 years. You're like, it's exhausting.
Right. So finding that thing that you're willing to do for 10 years, and sometimes you don't know, right? Like when I graduated from law school, I started a law practice because I knew I didn't want any of these other jobs that I was being offered at these firms or at nonprofits. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go do my own thing. And I started my own practice. And law wasn't it for me. That wasn't my thing. But through doing that, I discovered that I really love running a business and I'm actually good at it.
Right.
And so that I would have never gotten to that. So I think there's advice by Denzel Washington. They asked him, like, what would you advise young actors? And he says, act.
Yeah.
Right. Just get out there and do it. And so I think that's what you have to do is just pick something and do. And through that, you're going to learn what you do like, what you don't like, what you're drawn to. You're also going to get a perspective that's going to show you opportunity. Like I figured out Small Business Bodyguard is a digital product that I created while I was running my law practice, right, in 2013. But when I was a law clerk in 2009 and working in the courts every day, I identified that like there's people who, can get legal aid and get a free attorney. And then there are people who can afford attorneys. And there's a whole lot of people in between that.
Yes.
Where they don't qualify for legal aid, but they also can't afford $350 an hour for an attorney, right? And so I was like, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if there was some DIY option? Like they could do it themselves if they just had a little bit of guidance.
Yes.
And so like that idea was planted then, right? And then years later,
you executed on it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I think sometimes we just have to get out there, get into something, right? Start doing something and just getting information from that and seeing and go where you're drawn. I think our instincts are so powerful. We collect too much information, too many advisors, too much content, right? So I think sometimes we just have to follow our instincts. Where do we feel led?
Do it
and see what happens. Yeah. It doesn't have to be permanent.
Right.
Just gather some information from it and see what's next.
We'll get back to the interview in just a minute, but first I wanted to tell you about a product that can help you on your investing journey, and that's Wealthfront. Wealthfront is the pioneer of the automated investing movement, and their trusted software allows you to set it and forget it when it comes to your investments. In just a few minutes, they'll set you up with your very own diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds that's tailored to your individual risk tolerance. And then they'll handle all the rebalancing for you. And best of all, Wealthfront does all of this at an affordable cost. Wealthfront also has a new offering specifically for anyone interested in cryptocurrencies, but doesn't want all the hassle of buying it directly. In fact, they're the only solution on the market that allows you to get exposure to Bitcoin and Ethereum as part of a diversified portfolio with automated rebalancing. There's been a lot of talk in the news lately about crypto, as I'm sure you know, and Wealthfront makes it easy getting started. So whether you're already investing in crypto, you've been considering it, or you just don't know where to start, I encourage you to check them out. Investing in yourself and in your future shouldn't feel like a roller coaster. Make Wealthfront do it for you by going to invest.wealthfront.com/Lewis and opening an account today. And I've partnered with them to get you $5,000 managed for free forever. Okay, back to more investment tips with Rachel Rodgers. Why do you think it's so hard for people to be transparent about their money and talk about money? Why is it such a taboo topic in general?
Yes.
I think for all classes, all individuals.
I totally agree. It's like it's so funny because, and I wrote about this in my book, like for women, we have shame if we don't have enough money, but we also have shame if we have quote unquote too much.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's like, I have more than them and let me hide it because people are going to think I'm showing off, or they have imposter syndrome, right? Am I worthy of having this much money? I've experienced that myself at different times, right? Like you've worked hard for it, but you think that you don't deserve it for some reason. And I think that I think society was sort of designed so that we wouldn't talk about money.
Why?
Because I think it's designed so that we have a few people at the top and a lot of people at the bottom. And so now, then of course the middle class emerged, and we've gone through different things as a middle class, as a collective, right? But I think I think that's part of the reason why it's like, don't tell, employers saying, don't tell your coworkers how much you're making because I'm paying you more than I'm paying this one and I don't want y'all to know. Right. So it's like, it comes from those places, but it's reinforced everywhere,
Right. Everyone's reinforcing it.
Exactly. And I think
not just corporations or.
Yes. And because there's so much mystery, it's like, I don't know how much you make, right? You don't know, maybe you know how much I make because I talk about it all the time, but I don't, you know what I mean? So like, we don't know, and we're scared to make assumptions, and we're sort of guessing, and we're like, well, if I put mine out there, I might be embarrassed because I discovered that like I'm actually either making too much related to my peers or too little. And I think it goes back to belonging. We just want to belong to a community, to a group. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so because of that, it's like we don't want to do anything that's going to make us not belong. It's just an inherent human need to belong. And so I think that we don't talk about money because we think it's going to affect our ability to belong, whether it means we're too broke or we have too much, or somewhere in the middle. So
what conversations should we be having around money? How consistently should we be having them, and with who?
Yes. Okay. So in terms of the conversations I'm having, I'm telling people like, if I get a speaking gig, here's how much they paid me, right? And I asked for more and they gave it to me. So make sure you do that too, right? Like, or I negotiated for higher pay, or I negotiated for profit sharing, or I asked for more vacation days, right? Like we need to share our money earning strategies with each other, especially with, women and people of color, right? Like putting more money, like that's what allyship is, in my opinion, is putting money in the pockets of the groups who need them, right? And who, we have this huge wealth chasm in this country. So like, how can we start to change that? And so that's why I share how much I got paid for a book deal, like all these things that you're not supposed to share. I'm like, I'm gonna tell y'all. This is how much I got, this is how I got it, And I think it's important. So I think sharing money-making strategies is very important. I also think one of the things that has been so valuable to me with some of my peers, especially, I will say, my white guy peers in particular, have showed me, like, they have taught me things about, like, investing strategies or, like, oh, here's a strategy that I'm doing with my money, or I'm investing in real estate, or I'm doing these different things. Like, what are people doing with money once you have some, right? Like once you have a little bit more than you need to live off of, what do you do with the excess? And sharing those things, right?
Sure.
Sharing that information, because it's usually hidden. And it's like, there's a small group of people that know, and you don't know until you have peers who have done it, and then you find out, right?
Right.
In those quiet conversations that aren't on, on Facebook, right?
Sure.
So
Should people be talking with their friends, their family members, their spouses about money? Or
yes.
what if someone's really uncomfortable, says, you know what, I don't want to talk about the money I make and what we should be doing? What conversation can you have to try to break the wall down?
Well, I think you could say, here's why I want to talk about money. And here's why, like, we have to be, I think if we're willing to be transparent, people will be transparent with us. That's what I've found in the conversations that I've had. And that's how I've learned a lot about money, is by having conversations. Like the friend that I was spending time with last night, she's an investor and a financial advisor. And so I was asking her, like, okay, well, what are you investing in, and how are you thinking about it, and what is an investment thesis? Like, I don't even know what that means, right? Like, we were having conversations, and she was teaching me all of this stuff because I was willing to tell her, like, okay, here's how much money I want to invest, but I don't know where best to put it, that kind of thing. So I think you just got to be willing to put yourself out there first. And I find that people want to talk about it. So when I bring it up and I start sharing, they immediately start sharing, because it's like they were like waiting for an opportunity to talk about this.
Yes.
Is what I find. So I think we just got to start doing it and create more transparency around it. And then, it creates opportunity for all. And that's the other piece of it, is like, I recognize that, even someone who would be considered a direct competitor, maybe they sell the same thing I sell. I don't believe in competition in that way. I think there's more than enough money to go around. I think there's more than enough opportunity to go around.
Yes.
And I choose to be friendly with and support my competitors, quote unquote, and vice versa. And that just means that we all get better at what we're doing. We all can serve our clients better, right? We all can make more money.
Absolutely.
So I just choose to believe that. And sometimes there are times where I'm too trusting, and someone, I don't know, I guess you could, for lack of a better phrase, steals from me, right? Or takes an opportunity, or says one thing but does another behind my back, or whatever. And that's going to happen too. But I'm like, but I don't want to be a person who's closed. So I just got to be me, and it is what it is, right? There's going to be some occupational hazards when you're being transparent.
Absolutely.
And you just got to navigate that as best you can. But I just choose to be who I want to be in the world, instead of who I feel like I need to protect myself,
What was harder for you, making your first $100,000 in a year, or making your first $1 million in a year?
$100,000 for sure.
Why is making $100,000 harder than making $1 million in a year?
Because it's like, I think we're just figuring it out. I also think we're charging too little for our work at that point.
Is this when you're working as a career, or when you had your own business, or freelancing?
I never made $100,000 prior to starting my business.
Got it.
I went from college to I had a job in between college and law school, and then I went to law school, and then I started my own practice. So
you didn't work at a law firm after law school. So you started pretty much right away being an entrepreneur.
Right.
Which is really hard to do.
Yes, my last salary before I became an entrepreneur was $41,000 a year.
Gotcha.
And really good health insurance.
Yeah.
And I was thrilled.
That was in between law school, or in between school and law school, as you said?
Yes.
Gotcha.
No, in between. This was after law school, because this was my clerkship.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, you kind of sign on for a year, your paycheck is not that big, but and you're a lawyer, right?
You're learning the ropes, you're getting reps,
exactly.
You're getting experience.
And that's kind of why I decided to start my business at that time, because I'm like, I already don't have a lot, right? I already know how to live off of this amount of money. Yeah. So I'm like, if I can live off of this now, let me keep my expenses this way, or lower them even more. I sold my car, and we owned a house, and we rented it out, moved into a smaller place.
And how many kids do you have at this time?
I had none yet.
Okay.
Oh, well, actually, that's not true. I had my stepdaughter, but she didn't live with us full time.
Okay.
And so that's what I did at that stage, is I cut down my expenses as much as I could so that I could build this business.
How old were you then?
I was 27,
Okay.
I want to say.
Got it.
2009. Or no, 2009 to 2010.
Okay, cool.
This was that year. And then I clerked for the judge and I started my practice. And I was like, I made there were months where I made $500 and months that I made $2,000. And that's why linking together, my friend bought a salon. She was a hairstylist. She wanted to buy her first salon. I did the transaction. She was purchasing an existing business and I charged her $500 for that. I don't think I've actually ever told anybody that.
That's cheap.
Because I was ashamed. I was ashamed that I didn't know what to charge for that. Wow. And that I undervalued my services so much that I literally have never told anybody that I charged $500 for that. And she's still a good friend of mine.
Wow.
And she's...
That's not her fault.
No, it's not her fault.
Yeah,
she made bank with that salon and she's since now sold it.
But you also got experience doing that, doing that transaction, that deal, which you'd probably never done at that level.
Yes.
Seems like. So you gained confidence from that.
Yes.
So there was a win there for you as well.
There was a win. But when I saw how many hours of labor were involved.
You put weeks probably, right?
Yes, I'm negotiating with the other side, dealing with a difficult lawyer.
And $500 is a steal.
I mean, for the whole thing.
And can I hire you for that?
I should have charged $5,000 minimum, But it was but I learned from that. I add value.
Of course.
I can figure it out, and I have a skill in that. I'm trained in knowing how to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that was kind of working on the job experience. You weren't fully probably experienced for that yet, it sounds like, but you learned, okay, I didn't need to do these 10 hours of calls that I did here. I could have done this in an email or whatever. I don't know how this works, but whatever it was, you learned your process to simplify it, to maximize it. So
exactly. And back to that $100,000 question, I think that's why. It's we're figuring it out. Usually we don't know exactly what we sell in those early stages of the business, so we're selling everything.
Everything.
Whatever people come to us with, we're like, yeah, we could do that. We just create a custom offer for that.
Whatever money we can bring in, we'll do it.
We will take it. And so you're very busy. I call this stage busy bee because you're very busy at this stage, but nothing's refined, nothing's efficient. Everything is just sort of your massive labor towards whatever you can make happen. And so that first $100,000, I think you are hustling for that. But in order to get to $1 million, or at least to do it in a way that feels sustainable, you need systems, you need process, you need team, right? And so now you're starting to build a sustainable business. You're not just, by brute force making money.
And you need to clarify your offering and your audience and your niche and what your specialty is. You're
exactly.
I'm not just a lawyer that can do anything you want me to do, but here's what I really specialize in.
Exactly.
And here are my 3 packages at these different levels. And And you go all in on marketing that.
Yes. And there's money that you're saying no to.
Absolutely.
You learn that lesson that not all money is good money.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
It's so, I say this a lot to people. I go, it's weird that I'll turn down massive checks all the time.
Yep.
But I'm just that's not what I want to do, and it doesn't serve my mission.
Yes.
If it's not serving the mission, and I don't need the money, then I shouldn't do something just to bring in more money.
Exactly.
For me.
It's a distraction.
At different stages of my life, a different season, now I said yes to everything. When I'm broke, you say yes to all these things.
Yes.
But then when you're okay, I'm here for a mission, and to serve at the highest level of my skills and abilities, that brings me the most joy and brings others the most joy and benefits the most number of people, then you start saying no to money, which is crazy.
Yes.
It sounds crazy, doesn't it?
It's delightful.
I
love it.
No,
I feel to me, it lets me know that I've not made money my master.
Yes.
Right? It's very important, but it is a tool.
That's good. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not beholden to it, and I won't trade anything for it. There's plenty of things that I will not do, and I don't care how much you pay me, Right. So I think that it's good to remember that. And so when you're turning down opportunities, it's just an example of okay, I'm doing things right.
Well, I think you got to understand that just because you turn down money over here doesn't mean it's not going to keep coming to you. Just because you turn down something that's not right for you doesn't mean abundance of something that is right will keep coming to you.
There's so much opportunity. There's always more where that came from.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's powerful. Okay, so the first 100,000, how long did it take you? How many years until you made 100,000 in 1 year? Can you remember? Roughly.
So my first year in business, and it was I started September 1st, 2010. And so from that year till September 2011, I made $60,000 that first year.
That's right.
But I think the first full 12-month calendar year was year 2. So it didn't take too long.
And then how long until you made 7 figures in 1 year?
Yeah, that took me 7 years.
After that, from starting business.
From September 2010, I think maybe it was 6. It was 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
I think 2017 was my first 7-figure year. And I had gotten close, but not, like
Right.
almost
Crossing,
there,
yeah,
but
yeah.
not quite. And twice. And you know what? It was interesting. What happened is, like, I had my business, my revenue was doubling in the beginning. It was like I made 100 grand, then I made 2 or 250. And then, then I made 500. Then
it's like,
I plateaued. And
it's like, okay, 560 and
right.
620.
I know. It started making me mad. Like from 500 to 700,000. I think I was there for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And there was all kinds of stuff going on in my life. One, there was a lawsuit that one of my business partners. So like, this is one of the things where too trusting too quickly caused some issues. So that was a huge distraction for me at that time. I had 2 babies back to back.
Wow.
So, I was busy with them. And then there were just a lot of lessons I needed to learn. Like I had all these people working for me, but I didn't have good boundaries. And I just kind of let them do whatever they wanted and didn't have, like I was learning how to become a boss. I was learning how to become a leader and a manager.
So much more challenging than just doing your skill. Like, let me just be good at the law thing, which is what people wanted me for.
Yes.
Now they want my business for that and me, but I've got to train the team and
to deliver. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It's a different skill.
It's totally different, and it can be challenging. And I think that's why a lot of times we're like, well, I'm just going to go back to doing it myself. And it's like, you can, but it's going to keep you small.
Yeah.
You have to say yes to those challenges and learn that new skill, right? And I think leadership skills are so valuable for everybody. So, I had to learn that, and it took me a couple of years to like figure out how to have stronger boundaries, figure out how to stop letting people waste my time, figure out how to charge for what my services are worth, right? All of those things, those were lessons that I was learning in that time.
Who was wasting your time? Like clients or
Everybody.
employees? Or
clients were wasting my time, team were wasting my time. Even family members, right? Like I my desk was like right in the front door. So like, it's like the door is here. My desk is right here. My husband would like be coming in and out. He's a stay-at-home dad at the time, taking care of the kids. And he just ran a tight ship with our household. It was amazing. Like I had so much support in that way. But he would like, every time he came through the door, wanted to talk to me, interrupt me.
I gotta focus.
Yes, exactly. Was like, I didn't know how to create boundaries around my work time. And I did eventually learn it. I started getting up at 4 a.m. because I was like, I'd get up at 6 and these kids would, it's like they could tell, like they had a radar the moment I woke up. So then I would get up at 6, like I would be like, okay, I'm going to beat them. I'm going to get up at 5:30. Nope. Still get up with me. 5. Nope. 4:30. Nope. 4 a.m. And they stayed in their beds.
Wow.
So I was like, fine, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. every day then. So that's what I did for a while, just to find that quiet time so I could focus. So those were like, I had to learn those lessons, and now with my clients, I try to teach them those lessons as early as possible. I wrote this book because it has some of those lessons in there, so that people don't have to spend 3 years figuring it out,
I'm a big believer that going through the process is the best way to learn, but there are also some things that we could learn from mentors or teachers ahead of time that could hopefully save us some time in some of our decisions that we waste time on.
Yes.
I still feel like even with that, we're still going to learn things the hard way in certain ways. But if you could go back to that 27 and say, you know what, these are the 3 skills you need to learn in your first year of business, or before you launch that first year, only 3 skills. Obviously, there'd be many, but what would be the 3 most important things to develop a millionaire mindset faster?
Yes. 1, learn how to say no. Learn how to say no and learn how to not feel responsible for other people's feelings. Number 1, because I think especially as women, we are socialized to be nice. And that niceness is frittering away our dollars, And so we have to stop being so nice all the time. And you know what? You're mad that I can't spend this extra time doing this extra thing for no money? Oh, well, be mad. That's okay. You can feel your feelings, and I'm going to go over here and protect my time. So I think learning how to say no is a top priority. I think the second thing is get a personal assistant, like from day one, as soon as you possibly can. If you can afford to pay somebody 20 hours a week for 5 hours a week, like as soon as that you can eke out a part of your budget for that, absolutely do it, because as soon as you start learning how to delegate to somebody else, how to explain something to somebody else, you're going to learn those leadership skills, and then you'll be able to run a team later. That's right. So the sooner you can start learning those skills of how to lead others, how to delegate to others, how to communicate, how to support the person that is working for your company, I think that is so crucial. So saying no, getting a personal assistant, and let's see, what is number 3? God, there's so many. I think double your prices would be my number 3. Like whatever you think your price should be, double it. Because especially women, we so undervalue our services that we can afford to double it and we'd probably still be undercharging.
And what if you're saying this is my price, say it's $5,000 for whatever you're doing, and I've doubled it to $5,000, and then for a few months, no one's saying yes to this price. Do you then make concessions and discount? Because you're like, well, I got to pay rent now. I got to figure out how to...
Never Never. So
What if
then,
you're broke? What if no one's saying yes? You've tried
Yes.
all these different audiences of people. You're knocking on doors. You're making calls. You're following up. You're doing things. And people are like, nah, I don't need it. Or it's too much. What do you say when someone
I'm
says...
not dropping the price.
So I gotta pay I gotta feed my babies. I gotta
Yes.
pay rent. I gotta do all these things. I got family that need help.
So
They're relying on me.
I think what happened, you got to solve the real problem, right? Like, so if it's not selling, then either you don't believe in it or you're not describing it clearly so people can like know what it is.
Or you're not showing the results you could get for someone.
Exactly. Maybe you're not good at these sales calls and you're like, a lot of people will do this. They'll get on a sales call, they'll have the whole conversation, explain, hear the person out, match the person's problem to a solution they have, and then like choke at the end and not ask for the business. So it's like, get comfortable asking for the business. Usually when that's the case, there's a problem there with the entrepreneur that they're afraid of. And so they avoid solving that problem by dropping the price. And so I'm like, no, keep the price right where it is and actually deal with whatever that challenge is that you are struggling to overcome.
What is that challenge usually for people?
I think it's being afraid to ask for the business, not marketing themselves, not putting themselves out there, right? And
What is the inner feeling though? What is the inner fear?
of asking for the business?
Yes.
That somebody's going to say no. I guess rejection. Nobody likes rejection, right? But the sooner you can get comfortable with rejection, like you are free. That creates so much confidence when you can be rejected a ton. And I feel like one of the best things that happened to me is when I was applying for a clerkship at the end of law school and I just got rejection I applied to like 90 different judges. And then I also applied to a whole lot of law firms, got a lot of rejections there, right? It was super competitive. It was like the 2008 recession, right? They were hiring less people. I was not at the top of my class. So it was like, I just kept getting rejected. Literally every day I would open my mailbox for like 2 months and it was like 3 rejection letters a day. And I'm like, awesome, right? Because I just got, at first it hurt my feelings. But by the second month, I was like,
all right.
oh, well,
Yeah.
keep it moving, right? And just figure it out. So I think that being rejected, learning how to get rejected and be okay with it and it not make you fall apart is one of the best skills in the world.
What's the process of learning that skill? Is it just facing rejection over and over and putting yourself out there and then learning, okay, I'm still alive, I'm still
Yes.
here, and
Exactly. It's like Denzel said, act, right? Get rejected. And there was like this thing going around that was like 100 no's, like collecting 100 no's. So like the person was like, you know what, my goal is to be rejected 100 times, collect 100 no's. So I'm going to put myself out there enough, ask for something enough that I could be denied, right? Have that many people say no. What you will learn along the journey is that there's going to be people who say yes.
Yeah.
And so for every 20 or 25 rejections, you're going to get a yes, right? Like, and there's so many stories about this, like The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. You know that story
yeah.
of like, you know, how it was rejected. It was a complete failure, you know, in Brazil. And then it got translated into English, and it's like one of the best-selling books of all time. And it is an amazing book.
Yeah.
Can you imagine us not having that book?
It's an incredible book.
It's incredible. And it's like, he just believed in it. And he, you know, kept pitching it. And when his publisher was like, I'm not going to print this anymore, he took it to another publisher and just like believed, right? So there's something to be said about learning how to be rejected, continuing to have that tenacity, not letting it shake your belief in what you're here to do.
If someone wasn't raised around the language of money and they weren't in an environment or a household that spoke about it in a good way, maybe they said money, you know, rich people are mean or bad people, or their parents always got angry when they saw someone who had money on TV and
Yes.
associated wealth with a bad person.
Yes.
How do they break that mindset that not all wealthy people are bad people?
Yeah. Well, challenge that belief, right? The way that we change our thinking is to challenge those beliefs. So like literally write down the thing that you believe, and then, write down all the evidence that you can collect that tells you the opposite. Like, that's how we change our mindset, right? So if I'm telling myself I'm not smart, I can collect all the evidence. Well, I graduated from law school. I graduated from undergrad, summa cum laude, right? Like, actually, there's evidence that I am smart. You know what I mean? Let me point that out. So I think it's
being a lawyer of your life,
yes,
or of that belief system.
Exactly.
Which is something you understand.
Collect evidence to prove what you want to believe, right? And see if you can find out that it's true. Maybe it won't be, but you probably will find that it is. Because a lot of our thinking, it's just something, it's a thought that was planted there in childhood or from whatever interactions we had that are memorable moment that are kind of stuck, right? And it's creating this neural pathway that we just keep walking every day. We just keep saying that to ourselves. And so the way we create a new pathway is we got to start digging that path, right, to go a different direction. And the way you dig that path is start collecting evidence of the opposite. So look for examples of wealthy people who aren't, trash humans, right? Like, I hope that I'm an example, right?
Yeah.
And that there are plenty of others out there. So, try to challenge those, and I think it's just societal views. It's things that we tell ourselves. I don't know why, maybe to make ourselves feel better for not trying to go after what we want. I don't know why we do it, but we do it. And I think we can change it.
Yeah.
And I also think there's a different pathway, right? Like, I think there are issues that we experience as people of color, as queer people, as people living with a disability or chronic illness that other people don't have to deal with. And so we might get advice that's like, oh, just do these steps. It's so easy, right? When it's like, oh, but we're dealing with, I gotta take care of my mother as well. Like, when I make it, I also have to take care of all the family members who didn't make it, right? Who need help now that they're approaching retirement, right? Like, there's issues that we have that typically straight white guys don't have, right? Yeah. And so that's why I focus on this audience. And it's also just who is attracted to my work as well.
Right. I think it's to know your worth in general.
Yes.
And that's applied to everything in life, like know your worth with your friends, with your family, in your partnership, with your relationship.
Exactly.
Don't sell yourself short in any area of your life. And you've got to learn to believe in yourself to do that, which goes back to step one for you, is surround yourself with people who've done it and then learn to believe in yourself.
Exactly. And that's what I was getting at, is the worthiness and the confidence. I think sometimes when there is probably not a Black woman in America that hasn't worked in a workplace where she felt undervalued. And when you do that for a couple of years, you start to believe that your value is less. And so I think that it's important that we have confidence. It's important that we ask for the money, right? When we put ourselves out there, when we create work, that we charge for it, right? And demand that people recognize our value.
What if someone doesn't want to pay it? They say, okay, I recognize the value, but that's not the value I'm willing to pay for, because I don't want that value, or it's not a need in my business, or whatever it might be.
So goodbye to that person and move on to the next. Exactly. Find who your audience is. Right. And I think, you gotta put it out there to get those no's, to be like, oh, these aren't my people. Let me actually write my copy or present my offer in a way that makes them go away.
Exactly.
And only attracts the people that are really my people, right?
That makes sense.
Yes.
And how does someone learn to feel worthy when they're broke?
Yes. Well, you have to recognize that you are inherently worthy. I was just as valuable as I am today, 15 years ago.
But how do you believe that?
20 years ago.
When in the bank account and the relationship accounts don't show that value.
Yes. Well, I think, again, it's environment, right? Like, the way that I became a badass woman was surrounding myself with other badass women, right? Like, starting to spend time with people who had confidence and believed in themselves, and what they saw in me, right? Like, realizing what other people see in me that I don't see in myself. And you need that reflection back. And that's why you got to surround yourself. I mean, I have to tell you, like, I've been spending time in LA this week with, Black women entrepreneurs that I talk to on Twitter all the time. And, like, listen, the way that they will hype you up,
You got this, girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's go.
We hype each other up. And that's so important. You need that. And I've had that since I was a kid. Yeah. Like, I had friends who would hype me up, So I think we need that in our lives. And we got to put ourselves out there, be a friend first, right? And then you'll find that squad and you'll start to create that community around yourself. And then there's no way you can't believe it when you're surrounded by people who are constantly reflecting it back to you.
I love that approach, is surrounding yourself with people that will hype you up or that are inspiring, that have already done that. And I've also heard people say, when I'm in those rooms, I feel like an imposter.
Yes.
I feel like all these incredible women, you know, if I was a woman in these rooms of women, for this example, but these women have done incredible things. How am I be able to, why should I shouldn't be in this room because they're all amazing. You know, starting to downplay my talents because they're all at a different level or have more experience or have their careers or financially successful. How does someone get over the imposter syndrome of
Yes.
being in the room when they are the, whatever label they want to call it, the least successful financially, the least intelligent, the least experienced, whatever they want to say to themselves.
Yes.
I shouldn't be here
Yeah.
because I don't have X. How can they overcome the imposter syndrome?
Well, I think it's a process, right? It doesn't happen overnight. I think sometimes we think like, just think better thoughts. And it's like, that's lovely, but that's not working for me. You know, I think first of all, challenge that belief when it comes into your head. When you have that thought, oh, I'm going into this room and I'm excited about it, but I'm intimidated because I don't know that I belong there. And really just check the receipts. Are you sure you don't belong there? Like think about who you are as a person. What do you have to offer the world? What is the value that you bring?
Yeah.
What do people ask you to do that, you know, is valuable, right? What do they ask you advice on? You really just start to check your own receipts to see like, really, is that true? Because usually the people who have imposter syndrome are people who have a very long and impressive resume, right? And I wrote about in my book how Maya Angelou and Michelle Obama, like these are people who have imposter syndrome, like way far into their career, they felt like they didn't belong in certain rooms, right? Exactly. It's like, what? That makes no sense. And it's true for us as well. Like we'll think that we're not valuable or we'll have that same imposter syndrome and other people are like, are you crazy? Like you're amazing, you know, like you're bugging. So I think
If someone's in the room and they're going to remember this conversation that you share here, and they're about to be in a room with a bunch of powerhouse, whatever, individuals
yes.
that they want to be around. And they're like, this is the first time I've been around this group of people. I'm terrified. I'm nervous.
Yes.
What can they remind themselves in that moment when the Oprah of their industry is talking to them and they are potentially a nobody in that space?
Yes.
They're on their way up or whatever. What can they remind themselves?
I would say like they should ask themselves, what do I love about myself? Right? Like I'm funny, you know, I'm smart, I'm strategic, you know, I have great fashion sense, right? Like whatever it is, what is something that you love about yourself? And think about how you're bringing that energy to that room, right? And just recognize that that is a lie. And it is a practice. I used to be such a mean girl to myself in my head every single day.
What did you say?
I said that I was not smart, stupid, you know, I said that like, I can't figure this out. I'm bad at business. I'm not good at making money. I'm not good at practicing law, which is what I did before, you know, my current business. Like I'm a bad mother. Like, I mean, I said every cruel thing that I could possibly say.
What did that do for you?
I mean, it made me feel bad, right? Like it made me feel bad and it made me want to go get under the covers for 3 days. And sometimes I did, right? And then I would get my ass back up and go back to work because I had to, because I had kids to support. But I would do that too. And what helped is meeting women who believe in themselves and just being around that energy. It's just like that energy is going to bring you along. Because I think sometimes we think like, oh, I have to do all of this in my head. And once I fix it in my head, then I can go be around people. No. You need to go be around people because that's what's going to fix it. You know, being in that environment, our community, our environment, it affects us so much.
It does.
So it's so crucially important to be surrounded by positive people who believe in possibility,
Yes.
you know? So that's what I would say. And when I'm going into rooms, like I go into intimidating rooms all the time. And I think now I just think like, I'm just going to be myself. And if myself isn't good enough in this room, then I don't want to be in this room.
Right.
Next, you know?
Next room. Next room. And do you think money buys us happiness?
No. I think it buys a roof over your head, which is happiness, right? Like, so, you know, sometimes when people talk about like money doesn't matter or whatever, I'm not beholden to money, or they think it's a moral high ground to act like I don't care about money, right? So like you feel better about yourself because you don't care about money and your nose is in the air because you don't care about money. I'm just like, this is a person who has never been poor, you know, like this is a person who is not aware of the real economic situation for so many people. And I think if you are aware of that, then you recognize that money is a powerful tool that enables you to take care of and feed your children, that enables you to house yourself, right? Like, just like the baseline. I have been in a place for many years. My family was, and then I was as a young adult, where like my like electric went out, right? And we didn't have lights for a week until my mom got paid again. Or where, we didn't have food, or we were on food stamps and I'd be embarrassed to use it and there's only certain things we could buy with it, right? Like I've had that real financial insecurity, and I think anybody who has had that understands that money is very important. Like the idea that it's not important is complete nonsense, And it's like, that's the reason you're telling yourself that. I would love to coach that person and dig into, why are you telling yourself? Why do you have that story? What is it doing for you, right? Because the reality is that money is an important tool in the way that our society is organized today. And so we need it, and, we need to learn how to get it. And that's exactly why I do what I do, to teach people how to get it and show them that it is possible for you to create it on your own, But yes, this idea that like, money's not important or whatever, money is for bad people. I'm like, look, money pays the bills. Okay? Like, let's get back to basics here. All right. I think y'all are forgetting something. And then once you have that baseline level of security, you can decide, do I want more? And if I do, how much more? And here's what I say all the time. When people are like, well, how much is enough, right? You're a millionaire or your business is making X amount of money. Like, isn't that enough? Why do you still strive for more? And I tell them, because I am Black. Because there is a huge wealth chasm in this country. And as long as my people need money, I'm good at earning it. I'm going to keep earning it and then put it where I think it belongs. Wow. Right. So there's a certain amount of security I want for myself and my children. And frankly, I feel like I have that at this stage. Mm-hmm. So I've done that part. So it's like, check. And so now the next thing to do is, how can I spread it around? Yeah. Like, how can I have it be making change for people and change people's lives? Because I recognize money changes lives. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to just recognize money is neutral. It's not positive or negative. It's a tool. And it's how we use that tool that determines whether something bad happens or something evil happens, or if you have a positive goal with it. Yeah.
Have you met a lot of millionaires who are unhappy?
I've met millionaires who are unhappy. And I know plenty of happy ones. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's both. And I think it's like, here's the benefit, right? If you're a millionaire and you're unhappy, you could probably go purchase some therapy. Mm-hmm. You can maybe go to a retreat, right? Like, you can spend some money.
Take some time off.
Right. Yeah. You can spend some money on figuring out how to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's money in itself that's making them miserable.
Really?
Maybe it could be, but maybe it's just because they're choosing to make it their master instead of really leading their own lives and directing their own lives. Like you were saying, right? Like living in LA, right? Everybody's got a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something, and you got a scooter.
I'm driving a scooter. Scoot down the street with a smile on my face, wave at the guys in the Ferrari. Like, I want what that guy has, it's like.
Yes, but see, that's where we get into trouble, is if we're like, oh, because somebody else has it, I have to have it. Mm-hmm. It's like, do you want it? Is that something that you even care about?
I think want something because you want it, not because you're trying to impress someone else or show off or
you think you should want it.
Yeah, or because your friends have it, you're supposed to buy it.
Yes.
Do it because I was with a friend recently, and he bought this like, I don't know, $40,000 or $50,000 souped up like ATV type of thing, like a four-wheeler thing with like the music, but it's like $40,000 ATV thing. He's like, I got it because a friend had one and I thought it'd be cool. I was doing it to like celebrate a big launch I had.
Yeah.
So I wanted to buy myself something. I bought this and I've used it 3 times in a year. It's like, it wore off after the first couple times and I just sits in my garage. So I think, if you're going to celebrate and buy something, that's one thing. But if you're going to buy things to try to impress or keep up with your friends, just know what you're doing it for. Yes. And you may not use that thing. And that money could have been invested in something else or
someone else
or whatever.
Yes.
So,
and I think we're going to have starts and stops like that where we think we want something and then you get it and you're like, actually, I've learned that I don't care about this.
Yeah.
My husband loves cars. I don't really care about cars. I just want to be comfortable and get where I'm going.
Me too. Me too.
But my husband loves cars, and like he lights up and he gets so excited. He loves to tinker with them and all of that. And so I'm like, awesome, have cars because you love cars, right? And like, what I love is, we have horses, which, if you want to lose a lot of money, buy a horse.
Man, the upkeep every month on that it's probably like $5,000 a month just to maintain a horse.
Yes. We have a full-time person who takes care of our horses. But when I see like my Black children in an equestrian world where like it's literally 98% white, wealthy
sure.
white,
Yes.
you know? And so like watching my Black children ride their horses on their ranch, I'm like, I will pay.
It's cool.
I'm happy to pay it.
Yeah.
It brings me great joy and it brings them joy, you know? And they also are learning, one of my favorite things about it is that they have to groom them.
That's good.
The barn manager, makes them go up there twice a week and they've got to muck the stalls and take care of the horses. And I feel like it's hopefully teaching them not to be spoiled. I didn't have that problem when I was a kid because we didn't have money. My parents couldn't spoil me.
Yeah.
But I do have that problem with them. So
Yeah, I mean, well, any kids with horses are spoiled already.
exactly.
So you have to teach them hard
Yes.
work in that process.
Yes, exactly. And so I like them doing manual labor.
Yeah,
and I like when they're like, I don't want to do it today. I'm like, guess what? That horse still needs to get taken care of today.
yeah.
So you got to get up there and go do it, whether you want to or not.
That's good.
So it's good. It teaches them good lessons, but
Absolutely.
it brings a lot of joy to us. And it's the horses provide an experience to us every day
course, yeah.
that is so valuable. So but it's also possible I could have bought a horse because I thought I wanted one and then realized I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's okay. Sell it and figure out what you do want, you know?
Yeah.
Don't just build a big house because other people have a big house. Like build a house
Because you want it.
Right. Like I do have a large house and I have it because I love having people over. So we invite people all the time and have big parties and it's amazing. And it's like that being together is how I celebrate, you know?
Yeah, I think you'll regret decisions more often than not when you do something because you think you're supposed to do it.
Oh yeah.
Like I live in an apartment still. I've never bought a home. I've invested in real estate, but I've
Yeah.
never bought a home because for me, that doesn't excite me.
Yes.
Having a property and then spending $1,500 a month on the pool and the landscaping and the management and the taxes and all these things and the roof leaking, I'm like, that doesn't excite me, that idea. Investing in real estate where someone else manages it excites me.
Right.
Because I'm not doing that work.
Right.
I'd rather put my effort on serving humanity and doing the
Yes.
things that I'm skilled at and not 10 hours a week on a house that, obviously I'd hire someone to manage it, but it's still, I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
Right? And
totally
I'm
get that.
38 and I don't have a house. And most people might be thinking, what are you doing? You're like, what are you doing with your life, Louis? You should be owning a house. Like,
Right.
why are you not doing this? And I just see it differently.
Yes.
And maybe in the next year or two, I'll say, you know what? I want a yard, I want a space, and I'm down for this season of my life. But I haven't been up until now. And I don't want to make decisions because other people are telling me to do it.
Yes.
Unless I feel called to do something.
Exactly.
And so, I may be right or wrong, but at least I feel at peace.
Totally.
You know
And
what I mean?
You got to be willing to like separate from the pack and,
Absolutely.
Figure out what your path is.
Yeah.
And it's cool because when you do that too, you inspire other people to be themselves, Like I was talking earlier about Arlen Hamilton and, she's like this amazing VC, obviously a millionaire, and she wears like hoodies and like
Yeah.
everywhere she goes. And she's like, I refuse to get dressed because she doesn't want to.
know.
And like just being around her in her hoodie frees me to be like, I do want to get dressed up. So like I am, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
I'm not going to ask what's the dress code. I'm just going to wear what I want to wear, right? Like, so I think it's so important when you are living the way that you want to live and doing things differently, it frees other people,
Yeah.
to do the same.
What about you have 4 kids, right?
Yes.
4 kids. What are the age ranges?
I have a 21-year-old
Okay.
and then a 9-year-old. She's going to be 10 later this week. So she's about to be 10.
All right.
8-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Get a new horse for their birthday. 10-year-old get a new horse.
She is having an equestrian birthday party,
That's
but she's
cool.
not getting a new horse.
Yeah. What are the main themes that you teach your kids about money from all these different age ranges? If you could share 3 things that you teach them consistently at home,
Yes.
whether it be a simple or profound principle. What are those 3 things that you talk about on a consistent basis
Yes.
with all of them?
Well, I like to teach them about consistency, which I think is about money.
It's huge.
Yeah, like you got to show up and you got to do this every day. And it's like you did it for 5 days and they're like, well, I did it for 5 days. Why can't I get credit for that? And it's like, that's great. But this is the kind of thing where you got to show up.
Yes.
So teaching them really about habits and about like having a work ethic. If you want something, are you willing to put some sweat equity into it so you can have it?
Yep.
And so teaching them that, I think, is a core money principle.
Yes.
And then I also teach them about business. I teach them about entrepreneurship, that you can create a business and sell anything and, make money from your own creative ideas. So I want them to learn that. So my daughter is always like making books, or she's making like little gifts for people for their birthdays. And she's an
cool.
artist. And I want to teach her to value her art. This beautiful thing that you created, we can hang it on the wall, and that adds value to people's lives. So you can charge for that. So just having those conversations and showing them even things that they're creating now have value.
Absolutely.
Or things that they're willing to do. Like my son is like very techie. So I'm like, oh, the remote's not working. My 8-year-old, and he's been doing this since he was 6. He's like, Mom, just give it to me. And he like fixes it all. So, you know, he has that natural skill. Like, it's obviously a natural skill. Who taught him? I didn't teach him nothing. I don't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe he learned by watching my husband. I don't know. But, you know, I want him to see that, like, oh, your ability to come in and fix that for somebody who doesn't know how, that adds value. That's something you could charge for if you wanted to in the future. So, like, teaching them that and asking them to do things and telling them, like, you know, if you do X, Y, Z, I will pay you. So I negotiate a lot with them. So, you know, it's like we did this family photo shoot recently, and my son absolutely hates taking photos. He hates getting dressed up. He hates the whole production of it. And so I'm like, okay, so you do this for mommy, and you make sure you smile in all of the pictures, and you have to like not like untuck your shirt and do all those things. And if you do all of that, then I'm going to allow you to play video games tonight for 2 hours on a weekday.
Wow.
So like,
that's big time.
Deal?
Yeah.
And then we shake hands. And then there are times where he tries to go back on the deal, you know, and he makes deals with his sister too. And like, he'll try to go back on it. I'm like, no. If you make a deal, you have to stick to it, you know? So making sure that he understands that if you give your word on something, you have to back that up.
Yes.
So teaching them that, I guess, is another part of the money story. And I like them to it's so funny. My husband and I will go for walks or whatever, and we'll be talking about business. My husband's a CFO. And so we're having business conversations, and my daughter's hanging out with us, listening in. And my husband's like, yep, you stay right there and listen to all of this, you know, soak it in. So teaching her just about like the different strategies that we try, and, you know, marketing moves we're making, or whatever, different investments that we're making and why we're doing it. And explaining that to her, willing to have that conversation, you know, like, we bought a beach house. Let's talk about how, you know, we're only going to use it for the summer, but we're going to rent it out during the other parts of the year. And that's going to cover the cost of what we're paying for the summer, or like what we're paying for it all year long. So this is the strategy, and explaining it to her so she can start to see. And it's like, it's repetition, right? It's us having those conversations over and over again over time. And there's something about the eldest daughter. I don't know what it is, but she's going to be running this whole empire.
That's great.
I can already tell.
That's great. That's fun. What do you think is the difference between a rich mindset and a poor mindset?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just about seeing opportunity and feeling expansive and seeing abundance, versus seeing everything as small and not possible. And like, does it cut off your opportunities, or does it create opportunity for you? You know? So I think that's the difference, right? And just making decisions that are going to create more abundance in your life. And sometimes it's the opposite of what personal finance people say, right? Like, personal finance people are always like, budget. Budget is king. Budget is ruler, right? Like, you are beholden to the budget.
Yes.
Nothing else rules. Never go outside the budget, blah, 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 right? And I think it's more than that. I don't think it's just about, money is about, yes, you have a balance sheet, you do math. Money is math as well, but it's also feeling, right? So like, the advice that's always given to women about like, don't stop buying lattes, stop buying shoes, cut coupons. It's like, that doesn't make me feel rich. That doesn't make me feel abundant or feel wealthy. It makes me feel broke if I can't afford to buy a coffee when I have a good job and I work hard every day, you know?
Sure.
So what does make me, if I buy a latte every day, and that makes me feel fabulous as I sit and drink my latte and think about whatever it is that I'm thinking about, when I have that feeling, I'm more likely to create things that will add value to the world and get me paid, you know?
You're more excited, passionate, abundant, feeling energetic, and that energy attracts opportunities.
That's right.
So do the things that bring you joy.
Yes. And I'm not saying like, oh, go buy a Lamborghini, you know, if you don't have Lamborghini money, right? I'm not saying do that, but like, how can you find ways to feel abundant every day? And it's not just that. It's like, you know, I was staying at a place, it was not an expensive place in Laguna a couple of days ago. And, it's like not a fancy room at all, but it had this gorgeous ocean view, and I listened to the ocean as I fell asleep. Like, that is abundance, right? And I went for a run, like, along the beach. That was amazing, and it cost me nothing to go for that run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, sometimes it's just sitting outside and petting your cat and being in the sun and taking a few minutes for yourself makes you feel abundant. So it's not always dollars, but finding that way to just sort of attract that and to feel like spaciousness. Like, I have time. I have, the ability, right? I have creativity. You have a wealth of things. And the reality is, if you live in the US, you have a lot more than a lot of other people around the world, right? So you are rich, right? Whether you think you are or not, living in this country, for most people. And so if that's the case, right, how can we start to think that way?
Why do we lack the perspective? It's...
Yes, I think it's, all of the things that we're inundated with every day, like the different media, it might be the shows that we watch, like people joke about like watching a sitcom and like somebody, she's a waitress, but she has this fabulous apartment in Manhattan. It's like, really?
Right.
How does that work? So I think it's sometimes the things that we expose ourselves to, and we can just choose to expose ourselves to other things, right? Yeah. We can be exposed to a lot of things that tell you like, oh, you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're overweight, or you're whatever, all kinds of messages that we get every day. And so you got to curate that, curate your Instagram feed, right? Curate who's in your ear. If you have somebody who, if your mom or your friend from childhood is always making you feel like you're broke, stop talking to them. Like, talk to them. I mean, I'm not saying cut them off, but like maybe don't be on group chat with them every day, but be on group chat with people who have that abundant thinking, right? Who are thinking expansively. And also, what makes me feel rich? Saying no makes me feel rich. Like we just talked about, right? Like having boundaries and somebody asking me, do I want to do that thing? Whether it's a money thing or not. And just saying, no, I don't want to go to that party. Or no, I don't want to do that thing. And just feeling like comfortable doing that. That feels abundant, you know? And that creates more space for abundance in your life. So
that's cool. And what would you say are the biggest insecurities or challenges you face now at your stage after, I guess, 13 years in business now, crossing the 100,000, crossing the 7-figure mark and beyond? What's the challenge for the next level for you?
Yes. Okay, so like we just hit 8 figures. And here's something that I just caught myself doing is being like, well, I know how to run a 7-figure business. I don't know how to run an 8-figure business. I don't know how to run a $10 million business.
Yes.
And it's like, that's not true, actually. Like maybe there are some things that I don't know about this next phase, but that doesn't mean I can't figure it out. And there doesn't mean that there aren't things that I do know. So I've had to this is an ongoing journey, right? Where you're having to constantly correct yourself and say like, stop talking like that, because that's actually not helping anything. So what do you know, right? What evidence do you have that you are the right leader for this organization during this next phase, Because I think being a founder and an entrepreneur creating something is different than continuing something and continuing to scale it.
Right.
And I've seen this happen with some of my peers too. Like your company gets to a certain size and you're like, should I even be CEO anymore?
Right.
Maybe you shouldn't. I mean, or maybe you should, right? Maybe it's just imposter syndrome. So I think that's one of the things that I'm kind of dealing with. And I also think something that I recently went through that I feel like I'm coming out of is trusting myself with this amount of money. You know what I mean?
You've never had this much money before.
Exactly.
So what do I do with this much money?
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Which investments should I be spending it in? Am I spending it the wrong places? Interesting.
Yeah, and I've had you have different financial advisors that you go to, or you're supposed to get advice, and they tell me to do things, or they don't. Here's the interesting thing. They tell me to do things that I don't want to do. And then the things that I do want to do, and I do get excited about investing in, they tell me not to do it. Right. And I'm like, well, but that's the thing I want to do.
Right.
And to me, it makes financial sense. And they tell me why they think I shouldn't. And I'm like, still want to do it though.
Can you give an example?
Okay, like buying this beach house this year, right? That is something, and I bought that beach house for my family so that I was just imagining being on the beach with my kids like all summer long. And we live in a landlocked area. I love water. I like being near water. And so I was like, this will be absolutely amazing.
Right.
And we usually go like 1 or 2 weeks, you rent, and it's so expensive. And so I'm like, why do that? We could buy something, we could rent it, and then we could use it during the summer. And It was the best summer ever. Like,
So you were there the whole summer.
all summer long, my family came down, my friends came to visit. Beach houses attract people.
Of course. Was this Florida or where is this?
This is in North Carolina.
Okay, cool.
And the beaches in North Carolina are amazing. So, we've had an amazing time at this like expensive piece of property that my financial advisor told me absolutely do not buy. But the value in it was really like
a rich life, a rich feeling.
Yes, that was
Which
it.
probably allows you to think bigger and expansiveness in your business. And
Totally.
your family is,
Yes.
feeling joy and love and
Exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't have to make money, right? Like I have other ways to make money. I can break even on it. So I'm like, I could have all of this amazing time with my family, and it allows me to be generous.
Yeah.
Like one of the, I just invested in a startup the first time I became an investor this summer, which is another thing that I was like feeling uncomfortable about, And so the founder was like just on this like big work sprint and doing so much to get this company up and running. And she was like going to go on a vacation. She asked me where to go in North Carolina. And I was like, oh, come stay at my beach house.
Oh, wow.
And just like, you know what I mean? Like being able to do things like that
that's cool.
It's awesome. And I've done that for a couple of friends now. And it just feels so good. So I think it was worth it. It may break even. It may make me a little bit of money, but like, that's okay. And I had it. I could afford it. I had the money to do it. So it's just like, I've had to learn to listen to my own voice. Here's the other thing that happens to me a lot with financial advisors and like accountants and like all the financial people, not all of them, but most of them in my life. They all are like, well, in order to do X, Y, Z, we'd need to make another $1 million or we need to do this or that or whatever. And it's like, that's not possible. We could look at that for next year or the year after. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to go make that $1 million right now.
Let's go right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, that's, we shouldn't be doing that. Like, that's not possible, right? Like, you're going to break the business, right? Like,
they're too conservative thinking.
Exactly. And they don't believe me. And I'm like, I want you to look at the P&Ls for the last 3 years of this business and then come at me again and tell me that I can't do it. Like, What are you talking about? Of course I could do it. And I'm like, here's the problem. It's happening inevitably, right? Like we are naturally growing.
Let's just ramp it up.
Exactly. Yeah. There's an audience there. There's more and more people interested in what we're selling. Like it's happening anyway. And that's the other thing. We create these projections and they're like, we're not going to hit those projections. And I'm like, your projections are too low. Like you need to go with mine. And inevitably, we always exceed it every year.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it becomes a problem because you actually can't plan, right? If you're like really undershooting. Mm-hmm. So then you grow too much. You don't have enough team to cover it, right? Like all of those things. So learning to trust my own instincts over all of these quote unquote experts. And they are experts and they definitely advise me on different things. But when it comes to like, my own skill set and what I know I'm capable of doing, I'm just like, And there was actually somebody I fired because they just kept saying, that's not possible, really, you should be more conservative, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, goodbye, get out of my ear. You're not helping me. You're not putting me in the space of abundance.
Yeah, that's true. What was the mindset shift for you from going 7 figures to 8 figures? Like, what did it take?
Yes. Well,
Is it tactical? Is it mindset? Is it a team? Is it systems, processes? What was that?
Yes. I think it's all of that. But I think a big part of it is learning how to not do and learning how to lead. That is what takes you from 7 to 8. Is learning how to have a team, delegate to them, remove yourself from the day-to-day, and recognizing that the more you remove yourself from the business, the more it's going to grow. Because usually, if there's something dependent on me, I am absolutely holding it up. Right. What I do, it's like you have to keep redefining your role in a company, right? If you're the CEO, then it's like, how does your CEO role change over time when you've hired a COO or you've hired other leaders on your team and you've got this team of copywriters and all kinds of people, coaches on my team, right? Like let them do their thing, right? Learn how to get out of the way. You've hired smart people, let them do it. So really removing yourself and learning how to lead and have a vision and say, hey, y'all, here's where we're going.
Yes.
Here's where we're trying to go in the next 3 years. Let's talk about how we're going to get there. We'll figure out the how together. And these are the goals we're going to hit this year. And then just let them go and be there to coach them and support them.
Right.
You know, and help them step into their own leadership, help them solve the problems you've solved, like learning how to delegate or learning how to protect your time. Now you got to teach them how to do that.
Sure.
So that's what that phase was. And what the next phase holds, I have no idea. Like probably even more of that.
More of that, yeah.
Yes.
Wow. What's the business model for you, if you can break it down for people? What's the main revenue streams that come in?
We sell one thing. We sell We Should All Be Millionaires, the club,
Okay.
which is a membership community that teaches people from marginalized identities how to build a 7-figure business from scratch.
Okay. What's the membership price?
It's $295 a month.
$295 a month.
Or they can join annually for $29.95. And that is the only thing we sell at this moment. There's lots of discussion on my team about whether we should be selling other things. And so we may have other things in the near future, but I'm really a strong believer of like focus.
Yes.
Simplify.
Focused.
Yeah. Like I think, you know, when you look at your P&Ls, I love numbers because there's a story there, right? And so when I look at my numbers and they're telling me like, the vast majority of your revenue is coming from this place. And then you've got this other thing you're selling over here that's keeping people mighty busy, but it's really not bringing
a lot
in
of money.
Yeah, it's like, drop it and let's get focused on the main way that we can serve people.
Did you have many offerings before and you just focused on this one recently?
Years ago, like when I transitioned out of my law practice, I had probably 17 offers. I mean, I tried everything, one-on-one coaching, group, retreats, workshops, like all of the things. And drove myself nuts with that.
Wow.
And then after a while, I was like, let's stop doing that. And so I started to like narrow it down and get really focused. And I did this in my law practice too, but I had to learn the lesson again. Because in my law practice, I was doing everything. And when I looked at my numbers, I saw the main things that brought in money were Small Business Bodyguard, that product, and trademark services.
So why not go all in on those two things?
Yeah. Cut everything else and just sold those. And we made a lot more revenue.
Wow. So it's it's called We Should All Be Millionaires, the membership, right?
Right, the club.
The club.
So everybody calls it the club.
The club. Gotcha.
Yes.
So this one club, this membership, recurring revenue, brings in 8 figures.
Yep.
It's great. And that's the only thing you're selling. You might have book deals and speaking here and there, or some smaller,
yes,
not smaller, but other side income.
Right.
But that's the main offering.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's the process for lead gen, retention?
Yeah.
Is it all, do you do launches throughout the year? Are you doing webinars? Are you doing challenges? Are you doing Facebook ads?
Yes.
Like what's the affiliate launches?
Well, so we don't do affiliates. We've done 2 launches this year, or we did one. We're going to have another one that's coming up.
Right.
So we'll have 2 big open launches this year. Each month we have a wait list. We open the cart for the wait list for 2 days for just those people on the wait list.
Wow.
And that's it. We do, I have a podcast, we have the book, which has been probably the biggest promoter.
Really?
We do a lot of press. And, I've been organically building this audience for 11 years. So
no Facebook ads?
We do Facebook ads, but we spend barely any money on it.
Wow.
I know. And I usually have marketing people yelling at me saying we need to spend a lot more. And we probably do. I mean, there's probably opportunity there, but.
When you open it up, are you doing webinars? Are you teaching to get people in? Or they just say sign up and they just spend $3,000?
Well, the last launch we did, we literally just opened the doors and sent a couple of emails and that was it. Because I was doing so much press for the book that I was like, that should be enough momentum, right? And if that doesn't convince them, then that's fine, So, and this time we just created an assessment. So people take it to help them figure out where they're at. We have something called the Grow Scale. And here's the other thing that I think is so crucial for entrepreneurs to really be able to work their way out of their business is it's just a process of downloading what's in your brain.
Yeah.
So that your team can take action on it. And so we created recently the Hello 7 Grow Scale, which is basically coaching people based on what stage of business they're at. So if you're at 0 to 25 or 25 to 50 or 100,000 to 250 or 250 to 500, wherever you're at, here is what I would say to you. Here's the mindset.
Steps.
Yes, your mindset issues you're having, what your org chart should look at this stage, what investment should you be making, what does your team look like at this stage?
That's cool.
What are the what's your graduation checklist? These are the things you need to do to get your revenue up to the next level.
Where can people take that?
That is at hello7.co/growth. So they can take the assessment, then they get a report that gives them a little bit of that. And then if they join the club, they get the full, growth scale experience.
It's amazing. What do they get when they're part of the club?
They get the growth scale course. We have some other courses in there.
And the growth scale course teaches them
how to grow a business from 0 to 7.
There you go.
And it came from, because in this book, one of my friends was like, wouldn't it be amazing if you could just give a checklist of like how to grow a 7-figure business? Like, just give us all the steps. And I tried to do that and realized it's circular, not linear. So some things you got to revisit. And so I hired an instructional designer to basically help me. And we created this huge scope and sequence that then we filmed and did all the pieces so that it was this growth scale course, because I want something that coaches them when I'm not there. So if they're like, what would Rachel say? You know, you can access it on Tuesday at 2 a.m. if you want, you know? So, and that was just me like downloading my brain. And then it's a great tool because now I can train my coaches using it, right? Like I train my team and then also teach my clients. So it's it's basically creating intellectual property from your brain that can serve people when you're not there.
So you have coaches that are delivering on a monthly basis in here, but they're doing group coaching or one-on-one?
They're doing group coaching. They do some one-on-one, so folks can, like, who are in the program can buy one-on-ones when they need them.
Oh, gotcha. From your coaches?
Yes.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great. How many coaches do you have?
We have 3 at the moment.
Gotcha.
Well, including me, it's 4.
Yeah, that's great.
So, and we're hiring 2 more. So as we keep growing, we need more.
And how many are on the full-time team?
We have 25 employees.
25 employees. Do you think it's possible to get to 8 figures with under 10 employees?
I think it's possible, yes. Yeah. I think it really depends on what are you selling. Can it be very, like, based on technology? If you can use a lot of tech to deliver versus human power, that's going to allow you to do that. So I think it's possible. But I'm sort of like, my team is funny because I'm always like, if my copywriters are getting backed up and they're busy and they're, we have 2 of them, I'm like, let's just hire another copywriter. And they're like, well, we don't need it. I don't know if we could keep them busy full time. I'm like, not now, but soon we will. So let's just go ahead and do
Work into it, yeah.
Yes. So I'm always like, who's our next hire, right? And usually we have, 10 different roles that we're hiring. Right now, we have a lot of roles that we're hiring for. And to me, I'm like, listen, I am creating a great place to work that I was looking for when I graduated from college that didn't exist, or I couldn't find it. And so I'm creating that. And
what does that include in that environment?
It includes flexibility. I think that is key. If people are like, I gotta go take a doctor's appointment, or I want to be there for my kid's thing or whatever, do what you need to do. Autonomy, right? Like, people will be like, can I skip this meeting? I don't know, can you? You decide, right? Do you feel like you can do your job by skipping this meeting, or do you feel like you have to be there? And then let them decide. So I'm really teaching them how to be leaders, right? Like, lead yourself. Be a strategic thinker, and also have autonomy. I trust your opinions. I trust your decisions. So teaching them that, I think we all want that at work. And the ability to be creative and contribute ideas, I think, is crucial. And then, of course, you need a 401k. You need, we do profit sharing. So if we have a big month, everybody participates in that. And it's the next month. So in May, we had a huge month. In June, everybody got a check based on May. Because I want them to see, whatever we did that created May, let's do that again. Right. Then there'll be another big check for everybody. And, health insurance, paid time off and working remotely, I think are all things that's cool. That I was looking for in a workplace that I was like, that would be a dream come true. That's you're asking for too much. When I graduated, but now it's becoming more common, and just being able to provide that work environment and a great culture as well, where people feel seen and people feel like they can fully bring their full selves to work.
Well, that's cool.
That's my goal. And it's a work in progress. There's always things to work on. There's always ways that we can improve our culture. So I'm very aware of that. We haven't figured it all out.
Yeah, right.
I'm learning.
As we're growing, we're always figuring it out.
Exactly.
What if you had to double your revenue in the next calendar year, let's say, from this year to next year, if you had to?
I love this question.
life depended on it.
Yes.
What would you do? Obviously, it's a hypothetical scenario. You don't need to be that drastic.
Yeah.
And some years are double, some years are incremental. It depends on what's happening. But if you had to, what would you do? What would be the next 3 moves you would make for the rest of this quarter to lead you up to doubling next year?
Yes.
If you had to.
Okay. So it's interesting. I don't think I would do anything particularly drastic.
What would you do?
I think I would, I'd spend more money on Facebook ads to get in front of more people. I would probably reach out to some of my peers and ask them to help promote whatever launches or work we're doing. I would probably say yes to more press because I say no to a lot of it to get in front of a bigger audience. And I think I would just, instead of doing 2 launches a year, I'd be doing one every month. And that's it, really. I feel like I would just do more of the same, but turn up the dial. Because I think it's such a great question because it points out exactly the places where we're complacent and we're just like, I'm content with this level of growth. I'm not going to really work hard. I'm going to coast for the rest of the year. And it's like, if you had to hustle, it's really actually not that different. I wouldn't launch anything else. Maybe I would, but I don't think I would need to. I think I would just keep doubling down. And you know what I'd probably do? Because Schmilly Nation, my clients are so amazing that I probably would just go to them and say, hey, can all of you share about the club with friends of yours? And we're going to create an affiliate program to give you some kind of benefit when you share. That probably alone would double it. Just depending on, they are so amazing. And it's like they are a movement, you know? So I feel like they would be the best ambassadors.
So the 5 things I heard you say is spend money on Facebook ads, actually, and target people and get in front of people. 2 is find affiliates from your peers. 3 is do more press. 4 would be to ask your customers to refer one person. That would double it.
Yes.
And then 5 is launch monthly.
Yes.
Or every other month or something.
Yes.
Like do 2 times the amount of launches.
Put it out there more. Really just put more effort into the marketing.
And so if you, let's just say you implemented this and it's the end of next year and you went from whatever, say it's 10 million to 20 million, what would that do for you? Wow. And what could you do with that extra $10 million?
Well, I'm in the process of starting a nonprofit. And so that would be a lot of bread to put into that nonprofit. Yeah. And
who would you be serving and how would it change their lives?
Well, we'll be serving the entrepreneurs that we're serving and helping them to build businesses. And then also with some of that money, we would be serving single moms, who we want to support through.
How many moms would you be able to serve with that much more money?
Ooh, a lot.
Give me a number.
Probably 1,000.
1,000 single moms. How would you serve them specifically?
Well, there's a couple of things I want to do. I want to provide doulas for every Black woman giving birth in America.
That's cool. How much does that cost?
A doula probably is somewhere between like $500 to $1,000 for them to be there when you give birth. And there might be like a little bit more involved and it might change depending on the location, but not that much money.
For how many people do you want to do that for?
I said 1,000.
1,000 moms, okay. So
if we served 1,000 moms and it was $1,000 per mom, that's not that much.
Okay. So
and then the other thing that we want to do, so like I want to take it all the way. So doulas, then I want to provide night nurses to moms, because this is a thing that I learned from my rich friends and I had with my last child.
They get sleep. They have the energy to go create.
Yes.
You need to sleep.
I mean, it is life-changing. And it's not even that expensive, you know? And so that's something that I want to be more accessible. And then the other thing is childcare. So like it would be doulas, night nurses, and then, you know, subsidizing childcare, especially for women who are trying to build their careers or wanting to build something entrepreneurial.
Okay. How much would that cost to do 1,000 moms for all 3 of those services?
That's a good question. I think for childcare for the year, the least it would be is like $5,000. And then, you know, the doula was 1,000. Night nurses for, let's say, the first month would probably be like $2,500.
Okay.
So, you know.
So it's like $8,500
per person.
Per mom.
Wow.
For a year, I guess you're talking about. Or I don't know how long the doula process is. Is that the last 3 months? Is that?
They meet with you a couple of times during your pregnancy,
it's a set
and then
fee,
they're
though.
there. So it's a more finite thing, and then the night nurse. I think if you have that in the first month, like you're probably less likely to get postpartum.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like
depressed.
It makes a huge difference just getting some damn sleep.
Of course, yeah. Sleep is key.
Yes. So that would be amazing. And then also, you know, covering childcare for a year or at least subsidizing it, I think would be life-changing.
Sure.
For women.
Okay.
So
1,000 moms, if it costs $8,500, it's a lot of bread.
Yeah. But I feel like, I think there's a lot of money that I could put into it.
Right, you could
Is
get
that
donation.
8.5?
Yeah.
So
There you go. There's your extra 10 million.
that would cover it.
That would cover it.
And I also have a lot of rich friends.
Yeah, you could get donations. And
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't have to fund them all yourself, but that'd be a good start.
I love that you made me break that down because it just makes it feel so much closer. Because I was like, this is a faraway thing, but I'm going to get the ball rolling.
I mean, you could, every month you launch, you could also say, if we hit this many in sales, we're going to help 100 moms.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. Yes.
So have a meaning behind every launch. Every launch needs to serve moms.
So
And that will
exciting.
support you in actually getting people behind it, knowing their money is investing in something that you're spending on helping moms as well.
Yes.
So every month it should be, we're going to help 100 moms this month. And how much money do we need to earn on this launch
Yes.
to give whatever that percentage is going to be to serve that many moms, or a certain percentage of that fee in this nonprofit, in this charity that you'll be raising money for as well, I'm assuming.
Yes.
I think that would be powerful for your team to get behind, your community to get behind, and just grow from there.
How much do I owe you for this?
My mission is to serve 100 million lives weekly in what I create.
Yes.
And so, you're the one who came up with this idea. I asked the question
Yes.
to unlock that for you to then get clear.
Yes.
So, you're the one that did all the work.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited because
Yeah.
now we're going to go do it.
But I think the reason I wanted to ask this is because people can say, I want to double my income this year, double my revenue this year. Why?
Yes.
Why? And how are you going to serve if you're broke, okay, do it to serve yourself so you can
Right.
have your life set up, your family, your situation.
Yes.
So you can feel like you're having a rich, healthy life.
Yes.
Then once you've made $10 million in your business and you've got a rich, healthy life and you're buying horses for your kids and stuff like that, great. Now, if we're going to double our revenue, is it to buy 100 horses or to help 100 moms a month?
Yes.
And how are we going to serve with the tools that we have and the
Yeah.
finances that we have? And that's what's been meaningful for me and what we've been able to create is to be of service to the things that are important to us.
Yes.
Beyond hiring more people and beyond, our lives.
Exactly.
But how do we serve with the extra that we can give back to?
Yeah. 100%.
And I think that will drive you and your team to work with more intention and focus and continue to feel even more proud. We're helping
Yes.
our customers and we're helping beyond.
Yes.
So,
It does. It makes it more exciting. Because I will tell you, one of the things that I've been dealing with is like this mental burnout. Like I have all the energy in the world, but I'm just like mentally, I don't know if it's boredom or what. It's
because
like,
you're doing the same thing over and over, or what?
yeah, well, and I think, I don't know what it is. It's like you master a skill or your team is doing it. So it's like I'm almost having this existential crisis of like, where am I needed because my team's got it. So I don't have to show up to work and everything will still keep running.
When I have had that thought for me, I keep thinking I'm not serving at a high enough level.
Yeah.
So where do I need to serve more?
Yep.
And that's why I wanted to ask you this question, because I wanted to figure out what's meaningful in your heart.
Yes.
Because you've mastered money, you've mastered building a team to this level, but what's going to get you excited nonstop like 5 years ago,
Yes.
7 years ago to get to the $1 million level? To then say, we're going to change 1,000 moms' lives every year.
Oh my
I
God.
can imagine what that would have felt. I'm getting chills of thinking about this.
I'm
But
so lit
imagine-
up right now.
imagine yourself back when you were 27 or whatever it was, when you were
Yes.
like making 40 grand a year, struggling to, you got your kid, you got this, and you're just trying to figure it out. And imagine 1,000 moms like that, or not even at that stage, of how you could change their life
Yeah.
next year, and the ripple and the impact in their families that would have because of you
Yeah.
and what your company and your mission was able to create. That will get you excited.
That's pretty dope.
And I think I'm getting chills thinking about it 'cause I'm like, man, that'd be fun. But it's, I think those meaningful missions, once you've like, okay, we just keep making more money and everyone's making more money now as a team. We're giving out dope checks to everyone and we're thriving in this. Now, how can we take it to another level?
Exactly.
And you don't have to. You don't have to work that hard and like show up that way. You can be where you're at and be happy there. But I think as a person that wants to grow and impact at a bigger level, I
Yeah.
think that would be the next level for you potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't need to be 1,000 women next year. Maybe it can be 100. It doesn't have to be like this
Yeah.
grandiose project.
I like grandiose
I hear you.
projects. I like
Gets you
big,
excited.
audacious goals.
But let me ask you this, Rachel. If it was New Year's Eve next year, 2022, is it still 2021? I don't even remember sometimes.
Yes.
2022, it's New Year's Eve. You're with your husband, your 4 kids, and your 3,000 horses on your barn. You're sitting there taking a ride on each one all night, reflecting on the year, or you're on your beach house in North Carolina and you're reflecting on the year. And let's say you, in some way, impacted funding 1,000 moms with some part of this process.
Yes.
How would that make you feel?
Oh, I'd be on top of the world. I'd be like, I did it, you know? And then I'd be like, okay, how can we serve another 1,000 next year?
Yeah.
So I think it's almost like what you're making me think of is the truth is that you have to make money to free yourself so that you can do what matters to you more than anything else.
Yes.
You know?
And why does that matter to you?
Because I want Black people to have money.
Yeah.
And I want to make it easier for them. I want to take away some of the burden so that they could recognize, like, if I just have a minute to think, if I have a little bit of space, you know, financial space, right? Like time, then I can create any number of things. They could do exactly what I did. They could do bigger and better things than I did.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need that little bit of support. And I want to be that support without making them fill out 12,000 forms and, you know, go to every government office and all of these things. I just want to make it more likely and a little bit easier for them, take away some of the burden, because I can, right? So like, why not?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's a million ways that I've thought of sort of solving this wealth chasm in our country. And that's the first one. That's just
great.
my first stop.
Season 1.
Yes. Exactly.
1,000 moms, and then the next season of life, we'll figure out what can we do next.
Yes.
I think it's beautiful. Have you done this with any moms yet?
No.
So what would it take for a mom listening or watching right now to be one of the first people that you support before the end of the year?
Oh, wow.
What would that take for you to, whether it be the 500 or 1,000 as a dude, maybe they're going to have a child in the next 4 or 5 months. Maybe they just had a child and they're not sleeping right now. What would it take for someone watching or listening to be that first person for you to start this process?
Yeah, you know what? This is actually what I have imposter syndrome about. You know, is what you're making me realize. Like, I know how to build a business and make money, but building a nonprofit and doing it right and not screwing it up, I'm really nervous about that.
So let's just say you're going to help one mom.
Yeah.
And this mom is watching and listening right now.
Oh, I love
to this.
it.
Where would they need to contact? Who could they email?
Yes.
What should they need to say? We're going to make this on the fly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay, so you know what I would do?
How can they apply for this in their own way? Do they send a video? Do they write you an email? Do they post this on Instagram and say, Rachel, I'm a perfect person for this, or I know someone who's a perfect fit for this. How do I get involved and receive this?
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, we could do an email. I wouldn't want to make them do a video. That's too much.
Okay.
It's like, we don't got time for that.
Okay.
Jumping through hoops. But I think what I imagine doing in this nonprofit is really just having a type form, like having a simple application that people fill out. We create like, you know, some internal, like, here's how we choose the moms that we're going to serve.
Give me a link that you can say right now that you'll make in the next couple days. That'll be
you
up
really
by the
put
time
me on the spot. I love it though.
What's the link? hello7.co/what? Mom?
Yes.
MOM or moms? What do you
Moms.
want? Moms.
Yes.
hello7.co/moms. By the time you're listening or watching this, there will be a form you can go to that will show you the step-by-step approach to apply or fill out, and you'll have the next week to figure this out.
I love it. I'm down.
So
Let's
Rachel's
do it.
committing to this. If you guys are excited about this, and you spread the word to all moms who are about to be moms, who are, you know, just getting pregnant and they're going through this scary process.
Yes.
Who are just about to have kids. As she's figuring out this process, go to hello7.co/moms. And she's going to commit, hopefully, before the end of this year, to at least supporting one mom and figuring this process out.
Yes.
Over the next few months. While she figures the process out, it's not going to be perfect. And so for the next year, she can continue to grow in whatever this is going to be.
I love it.
Whether it's 1 or 1,000 moms.
We'll do 10. 10
she's
before
committed
the
to
end of
doing
the year.
10 before the end of the year.
Yes.
So if that excites you, then make sure to message Rachel over on Instagram and send her a message over there and give her some encouragement to keep going as she feels like an imposter in this stage, in this season. And send her a message over on Instagram. Is that your main place, Instagram?
That's where I hang out.
Is it Rachel Rodgers there on Instagram?
It's Rach Rodgers ESQ.
Rach Rodgers ESQ.
Yes.
Money Mom Rodgers. I like it. Hello7.co/moms. We'll link it up in the description as well. What would that make you feel like supporting one mom?
I mean, it would feel great. It would just feel like I'm creating possibility in other people's lives.
Yeah.
So, and it also feels like you need, like you were saying, when you're running a $10 million business, you have to have a reason to grow, right? Because you're
not just more money for yourself.
Yeah, you can just keep maintaining it, right? Like I could keep the same team, pay the team, keep the same amount of clients, serve them. There's no reason that I have to grow.
Should people want to grow in their business, or is it okay if they're like, you know what, I'm happy making $1 million a year in my business, and I've got 10 people on my team, and we're happy here.
I think that's okay. And I think the reality is it's all seasons, right?
Yes.
Like there are times where you're like, I'm content. I'm not in the mood to hustle.
Yeah.
Like I don't really want to figure out how to scale it right now. I'm just going to coast and enjoy it for now. And you're going to have that. And then you might have a time where you're like, I'm bored with that. Now let's go. Let's go do some big things.
Let's create. Let's build. Let's make. Let's serve. Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
But I think having, this is why I wrote this book. And this is why I want women to focus on their money, really pay attention to their money, and really look at the possibility of becoming a millionaire, because I want them to have financial power. When we have financial economic power, we can create change, including backing political candidates that we believe in, right? Funding nonprofits, helping other people, creating scholarships. I mean, there's all these different ways, but we can have a more powerful voice when we have money. Right? It's a tool that allows us to show up. For example, I have friends who are activists, and when they're raising money, they can come my way and I'm definitely writing them a check, and just having that ability, I feel like it costs me nothing. Like there's money out of my bank account. It doesn't cost me any time, but I get to, because of what I've created in the world, I can write this check that they can then go do this important work. Right? So that's really it coming full circle, right? We need to take care of ourselves, but we also need to impact the world in a positive way. And we live in a world that is not equitable. And I think when more marginalized people have money, it will become more equitable. We'll have more economic power, and we can see the change we want to see in the world.
Yeah. So what are the next 3 moves you need to make to empower yourself for this season?
Yeah. Well, I need to go create that type form.
Yeah. Okay, that's step 1.
Or talk to my team about creating it.
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
What's the nonprofit tentative working name going to be called?
It's just called the Hello 7 Foundation.
Okay.
That's what I went with for now. And honestly, I'm creating it because I'm good at making money. So I feel like I've raised money last year for different causes, and I was like, oh, turns out I'm good at raising money. Let's do this. So I really just want to have a place to put money in people's pockets. I don't really there's not going to be a service that we deliver through the nonprofits. It's really about getting money and giving it out, directing
executing it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's one thing.
Right. Okay.
Okay. What else do I need?
You need someone to manage it and run it and start it and build it?
Yes, I think I do. And I think it's all so daunting. So, and you know what's so funny is what I've been thinking about for a long time is I have 2 friends who I need to talk to who are experts in this space.
You haven't talked to them yet.
And I just need to schedule that call.
Yeah. So can you send them a voice message right after this?
Yes.
A voice note?
Yep.
Or FaceTime them right as you leave here?
I will.
With the car back to your hotel, just call one of them and see what they say?
Yeah, I'm going to call both.
Okay. See who picks up.
Yes, exactly. And yes,
okay,
thank you. Thank you
2.
for stopping me from procrastinating.
That's step 2. And then what's the 3rd step?
What's the 3rd step that I need to do to empower myself in this season?
To overcome the fear, the resistance of launching.
You know what I think I need to do? I think I'm doing it on this trip. Just being around more of my peers.
Yeah.
Because, it's like I had a lot of friends that I was growing businesses with, and some of them have paused or sold their companies or whatever. And there's not a lot of peers or friends that I have that are in the place that I'm at, and just like coming out here and just calling people and saying, hey, you want to get dinner, or coming and doing this show, right?
Yeah.
Like doing those things and talking to people who are at that same level, dealing with those same challenges, and just being reminded that I can do it this next phase. You know what I mean? That it's doable, it's not daunting, and there's a reason to do it. You know, I think that's the other piece of it.
Who are 3 people you can call today and ask for a $100,000 check?
Okay. You want me to say their names?
Do you have their names in your mind?
Yeah.
If you don't want to say their name, you don't have to. But
I'm going to be putting them on the spot.
But who can you call today and say, I'm launching this charity. We're going to serve 1,000 moms this next year doing these 3 services. Maybe it's going to be adjusted. I'm putting in the first 100,000. Will you match it?
Yeah.
Let's get to 200,000 by today.
Yes.
If you're like, hey, we're going to give at least 100,000. You're assuming you're going to do more.
Yeah.
But let's just say you're going to kickstart it with 100,000 for your own nonprofit, and get 3 other people to give you 100,000 that you're, have close relationships with. Maybe people that would be like all about this.
The first person that I would actually call is Arlen Hamilton.
I knew you were going to say that. Can you call her today and ask for $100,000?
I could. Yes, I could do that.
Is that too big of an ask for you?
No, it's not.
To serve moms.
I mean, well, this is a new, you know what? I could do that 100 rejections project.
Absolutely.
And just have it, just make a list of 100 names and start going down it and see who will say yes.
Absolutely.
And say like, okay, if 100,000 is too much, can you give me 50? What about 10?
Mm-hmm. Or start at $1 million.
Yeah.
And ask for 100.
Yes.
You're laughing, but why is that a shock?
I mean,
if people have $100 million out there.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And they've got access to funds.
I don't have a lot of personal friends that have that kind of money, or at least I don't think I do.
Maybe. You never know until you ask.
That's
Maybe
true.
you're not having those conversations in the beginning like we talked about.
Yes.
How much money you got in the bank? How can I get some of that to serve some moms? What do you care? What do you care about? What do you want to work on to help more people?
Yes.
You got $50 million in the bank. How can we serve people together?
Yes.
Do you care about moms? Because that's what I'm about.
Yeah.
Let's do this together. I'll work. I got the team. You just help me fundraise.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all your money.
Yeah. I think we could do it.
But there's 3 people in your mind that you can think of that you can call today and ask for at least 100 grand.
Yeah.
And see if you get something. I want you to text me tonight and see how much money you've raised by tonight.
Okay. Sounds good. I like it.
By tonight, tell me how much. If it's calling 3 people.
I'm going to call these 3 people.
And see how much you can raise.
Okay.
I bet you can get at least 50,000 by tonight.
I think so too.
At least.
I think so too.
And have a form up in a day if you wanted to. You could text your team and say, create a form with 5 questions, 10 questions.
Yes.
You call these 2 friends who have the nonprofits experience.
Yes.
And call 3 to 5 potential donors.
I like it.
In 24 hours.
Okay. Let's do it.
You're going to text me tonight.
Listen, I love a challenge.
Okay, good. But I think in general, most people don't challenge themselves to actually launch the thing they want to do, or they keep waiting and waiting.
They think about it too long.
How long have you been thinking about this?
Oh, at least a year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. If not longer.
And why have you yet to even create a form or a process or help one mom yet? What would you say are the 3 things that have been holding you back?
Fear of doing it wrong.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Really?
Yes. I think it's fear. I think it's like, I don't know, trying to sell other people on it, like the financial people in my life, talking to them about what I want to do and how to start setting this up, and them sort of saying, this is a slow thing, not a fast thing. But that's not how I'm a quick start. Yeah. I like to move quickly. So I think it is true that sometimes when you think too much about an idea, hold on to it too long in your head, it starts to die, right?
Yeah. Or just keep prolonging it as opposed to acting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a raisin in the sun, right? Dream
Yes.
frizzles up. So
Yes.
Yeah, I like this challenge. Thank you for that.
Of course. I know you're going to manifest and make this all happen. And even if it's, whether it's 1,000 moms or 1 mom, you're going to change someone's life in this process. And it's not going to be perfect. And it's going to get better over time.
Yes.
You just got to be aware of that.
You're so right.
You're going to mess it up. You're going to hurt some people's feelings. You're going to there's going to be things you're going to do that aren't perfect.
Yes.
But it doesn't need to be perfect. When your heart is on, my friend says, it's hard to be nervous when your heart's on service.
Yes.
My friend Rory Vaden says that. It's hard to be nervous when your heart's on service.
I love it. It's so true.
And if you're focused on, everyone's going to laugh at me, or failure, or rejection.
Yes.
I didn't do it the right way, or I didn't use the money the right way, like as opposed to, We're here to help moms. That's our mission.
Yes.
Or women. You know, we're here to serve women. And this is one thing in our charity that we're going to do in this first year.
Yes.
And this is our intention. And it's not going to be perfect, but we're going to give it our best.
That's right.
That's a success.
I agree.
It's a huge success.
Yeah.
Who else is doing this?
And you know what's so funny? What I've been thinking about recently is that I need to do this for my clients and do it imperfectly, because I know so many of them want to do similar things, and they probably have the same fears, you know? And it's like,
You're not challenging them like this, are you?
yeah, every single thing that you're saying is exactly what I say to my clients when they tell me why they can't do the thing that they want to do.
Right.
So it's sometimes you just need somebody to reflect it back.
I got you, girl. I got you, girl. I got you, girl. But you're a powerhouse, and you've created something that's really inspiring, especially, for anyone, but for women, it's really inspiring to be a witness to see what you've created in your business and in your life. To be a mom, 4 kids, to be able to invest in things you want to invest in, to be healthy, happy yourself, and not trying to be anyone else, is a gift to the world that you've showcased. You're a symbol of what's possible for so many people out there. And so I just think it's inspiring. And if there's something that you can do to help more people and you want to do it, then I'm here to support it the best way I can and push that further.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
I'm excited. And maybe
Thanks for the push.
Of course. And maybe this will give you that new energy
Yes.
that you're looking to create for next year, 2022.
Totally.
What about it?
Yeah, me too.
Do you think being of service and having a mission around this will help you get to 20 million faster or slower?
Probably a lot faster.
Why?
Because I think the 20 million is just kind of like, it's just a number. It's like, it doesn't really change anything. Like maybe there's more things I can invest in. Maybe I can donate a little bit more too, like just to other organizations or whatever, but it's not in and of itself inspiring, right? Like there's a certain point at which you're just well off, you're comfortable, you don't need it. It's not driving.
Yes.
The number in and of itself doesn't drive anything. If I think about the clients that it represents and that number of people being served and getting results, that is exciting. But this is even more exciting than that, you know?
So getting to 20 million and serving more clients who are investing in your offering is one level of excitement.
Yes.
But it's not changing your life necessarily more with that much more money. You
Yeah.
can buy a few more things and invest more, but you're living the same lifestyle essentially.
Exactly.
But having a deeper mission makes it more exciting
Totally.
to serve at a deeper level.
That's right. And also, again, because remember, it's that showcase, right? So like being able to show that example of bringing it full circle. Like you start where you start and you get your way to a certain level, and then you can start to give back in a huge way. And that's really exciting. And just being able to model doing it imperfectly, I think is so important, because my clients see it. They're such action takers. They're gonna choose something that they really care about and be like, you know what, you've just inspired me. Now I'm gonna go do my thing.
Imperfectly.
Yes.
And figure it out along the way.
Right. And that's the stuff that gets me to do things, right? Like when I'm like, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to, blah, blah, blah. But then I just think about the people that it's going to help and the people that are going to be inspired by it and be able to then take action, like being a model, right? Like, let me be the guinea pig. Let me do it wrong. Let me mess it up and show you that I'm still alive, right? I'm okay. I made it through, you know, so then you can too.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
That's great.
Being willing to be the first, I think.
So you got a voice note to someone on your team to set up an assessment.
Yes. Give me my to-do list.
And then you can update that as you can make it better over the next few weeks. But you've got at least a form.
Yes.
hello7.co/moms.
Yes.
You've got 5 phone calls to make, 2 to your friends who are nonprofit experts, and then 3 to investors. And you can do more if you want.
Yeah.
And that's your steps for today. And then the third one is to text me how much money you've raised before midnight.
Will do.
Or committed raise.
Wait, you said 24 hours. I need that full 24 hours. It's
Why?
late. It's late in the day.
Why?
Because what if they
You're
need
limiting
time
yourself.
What
What's
if they
this
need time
excuse?
to think
What's this
about it?
excuse?
It's not an excuse.
You've been waiting for a year. You've been waiting for a year. Life is now.
All right. Midnight it is.
Midnight. Text me by midnight. I'll be up. And then if you get back to them tomorrow, that's fine. But at least tell me what you've done by tonight.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah. And then you can tell me more tomorrow as well.
Okay.
This is a question I ask everyone towards the end called the 3 truths So I'd like you to imagine another hypothetical scenario, that it's your last day on earth many years away from now.
Okay.
You get to live as long as you want to live, but eventually you got to turn the lights out on this life. And you've accomplished all your dreams. You've served millions of moms at this point, or whatever that level of service is. You've done it. You've got the family. You've got everything you've done, you wanted to do. You did it.
Yes.
Lived a great life. But for whatever reason, we don't have access to any of your materials, your work, your message, this interview, the courses. For whatever reason, it's got to go somewhere.
Right.
With you or somewhere else. But you get to leave behind 3 truths, 3 things you know to be true about your life, your experience that you would want to share with the world. This is all we would have from your lessons to live by.
Okay.
Are these 3 truths.
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. They can be simple, they can be advanced, they can be whatever you want. But what would you say would be these 3 truths for people to live by?
I would say number 1 is making money is easy. I want people to challenge themselves to believe that and to recognize that it absolutely can be. So making money is easy. Number 2, making money and accomplishing things is important. But your happiest moments will be doing completely boring things with people you love. So I think it's important that people remember that. My happiest moments are not really like on stages or, whatever, when I'm getting accolades. My happiest moments are like sitting on the couch and my kids are cracking jokes and we're playing some silly game. Like you're just like, wow, this is great. This is living. So there's that. And then
The third?
The third I would want to be, if you want to impact a group of people, if you want to be an ally, then put money in those people's pockets. So I think there's a lot of people who do a lot of talk and performing, and it's just like, can we just put some money in their pockets? Like, let's just get down to business.
Sure.
So I think those are 3 valuable truths that'll help them and help them help other people.
I love it. You've got this book, We Should All Be Millionaires, A Woman's Guide to Earning More, Building Wealth, and Gaining Economic Power. And there's a lot of resources, tips, strategies, action steps, charts in here that I was going through of shifting your beliefs and your mindset around money and things like that. So make sure you guys buy a copy for yourself, for a friend, get the word out about this book. Inspiring stuff. We Should All Be Millionaires. You can check out the course, the program, which is called The Club. They just go to hello7.co. You can get all the information there about the program if you want to invest in the program. If you're a mom and you want to get support, go to hello7.co/moms. It'll be up by that point.
Yes, it will.
And they can follow you over on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the places, and send Rachel a DM if you think this is a great mission that she's now entering into for the next season of her life and her business. Send her a DM. Send her a DM if you have resources, if you have people that she should connect with, if you want to donate money, DM her and let her know that you're about helping moms. I think it's a great cause.
Awesome.
And I want to acknowledge you, Rachel, for stepping up, because I think when we have created opportunities for ourselves, it's important to lean into the things that might be scary and challenging for us, to serve things that are meaningful to us.
I agree.
And this is meaningful for you.
Yes.
For me, the things that are meaningful is kids that don't have school and children that are sexually abused and sold for sex slavery. Because for someone that was dealing with feeling very ignorant in school my entire life and needing tutors and things like that until I graduated college.
Yeah.
It's meaningful for me to help kids that have learning disabilities.
Yes.
And for someone that was sexually abused as a child, I feel like no child deserves to be sexually abused.
Absolutely.
And so there are 2 million kids around the world who are being sold for sex slavery. And I feel like it's one of the worst crimes that someone can commit on a child. So for me, that's meaningful, and I put my time and resources into that.
Yes.
And anyone watching, listening, you should be putting time and resources into things that are meaningful for you.
I agree.
And I'm grateful that this is your cause.
Yes.
And your level of service at this season of your life. And I'm all about it. So I want to promote it and help it out. So I acknowledge you for stepping up, Rachel, and doing the scary, challenging thing. You don't have to do this. You got a great life, comfortable life. You've worked your butt off for 13 plus 15 years to develop skills, to overcome challenges, to break the mold of family life and environment, to get to where you're at now, to create a new life for yourself. You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge you for having the courage to make phone calls in the next hour to 3 different investors who are going to join in and stepping up and be a leader when you don't need to.
Yes.
I think it's really inspiring, and you're a great role model for so many of us.
Well, thank you.
So I acknowledge and appreciate you where you're at in your life. Final question. What is your definition of greatness?
Definition of greatness. You know what comes to mind is autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, leading in your own way, making the decisions in your life and not letting other people do that. I think that is the ultimate freedom, having that autonomy. And so I think that when we trust our ideas, trust our instincts, that's what's going to lead to our own greatness.
Rachel Rodgers, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You may have a situation where you hated your job. I mean, statistics tell us that 68% of Americans hate their job. And some of you don't have that job anymore. So you get the opportunity to get one you like now. And you might not have done that on your own. So this could be the best thing that ever happened to you. There's a lot of good that comes out of this much pressure because it forces